What's up, everybody? Little quick knowledge thingy before I take off. I'm going old school. I don't know, man. I hope y'all could hear my last video because for some reason I can't get no audio playback on it. So hopefully y'all can hear that and be listening to it. But my tonight's final discussion of the day is going to be about slavery and what people don't know about white slavery, Irish slavery, to be exact, um, and the treatment that my mother's side of the family, their ancestry, and her forefathers had to go through because of their choice not to be Catholic and not to be a slave to Britain's crown and deal with the papacy. They chose to want to stay free and be Irish, and because of that, and because they were so malicious and had the fight in them, when they would enslave them, they would sell them in the 1600s, to be exact, is when this started. Um, During the reign of King James, your beloved Bible translator, he made the first sale of Irish prisoners. 30,000 he sold to the New World. Um, and it's not written in the history books, because at the same time the blacks were being sold. Um, Something a lot of people don't know about Irish slaves. Irish slaves were a lot cheaper than their counterparts, the black slave. The Irish, the white counterpart, only went for 5 sterling. The African counterpart went for 50 sterling. Uh, the Irish were treated a lot farther during the 1700s. Definitely, if you do your history, uh, the Irish were sold from the early 1600s all the way up until the Queen said there is going to be no more slavery in like 1881 or somewhere around then, 1881 or something like that. Um, it wasn't just blacks she was talking about, it was the Irish too, because of their deep hatred towards the Irish, because of the Irish being so rebellious towards the crown, and, like I said, the papacy. Um, what a way to shit on your neighbors, and your neighbors know your business. Your neighbors know your bullshit and your lies before everybody else. So, a lot of males got transported off into antiquities and to Montserrat, the New World, all around. And what had happened is by the mid 1600s, you had such a depopulation of the males that the Britons had to figure out what to do with the males or the females and the children that were left over. So you know what they did? They sold the females and the children into slavery too. And then the slave owners started practicing inbreeding. That's where you got your first American mulattoes. A lot of people wonder how that happened and probably don't even think to question. They just see, but they don't realize that was Irish slaves and black slaves being bred together to save the slave owner money of going out and have to replenishing his slaves. He would just breed them and replenish his population. And it was widely practiced throughout the South, throughout the world. It's why when you see a lot of Eastern Indians and you wonder why they got blue eyes and there's certain skin tones, It's because of their Irish and African bloodline that they have in them, on top of their East Indian bloodline too. So see, blood gets around everywhere. It's in and do your history and do your research, and you'll see that the Irish were treated just as bad, and if not worse, because of their value on the market. They were cheap. They were very cheap commodity. It wasn't an issue for the Irish to go through the same type of torture that an African slave would maybe go through, and there wouldn't be an issue because they're cheap. You can buy them for the price of one African counterpart. You can get 5, 10, 15, how many ever of the Irish counterpart. So um, do your research and you'll see. It's where a lot of your mulattoes come from. Modern, well, you can't even say modern age, but from, let's say, the 1700s all the way up into the 1800s, and then you know the proclamation that King James set forth in 1624 did shit. It didn't do nothing. Uh, and this is the same king that translated your Bible and that you pray upon and you love upon, and you think it's the real deal. And I told you he's a homosexual and he killed his mother. Uh, but for somehow and some reason, I guess he thinks he loves Jesus and God, and he does. He loves that Masonic Jesus and God that I hope you guys research and see through the ugly lies and what's really going on. Um, Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. But yeah, when the Queen in 1838, I do believe, when she abolished slavery, it wasn't just the blacks. Because, see, her issue wasn't the blacks. Her issue was the Irish. And don't get it twisted. Um, they like to paint it one way, not taking anything away from anything that my fellow black brothers' ancestry had went through. I'm just saying they whitewash just to keep the people at masses at each other's throat. They choose not to say, well, so, there's documented proof that the Irish went through it just as bad or worse in some cases. And it's not documented unless you go to look for it because of what value is it? It does no justice. It doesn't help out the system and the agenda as far as saying, yeah, white folks, we treated them just as bad too. And I'm talking about the British bloodlines and the Jewish bloodlines, not the Irish bloodlines, because they were the one. Some Irish bloodlines, there's always higher ups and royalty in every culture. So, and they're all in it together. So they choose not to lose a few if they have to. They get replenished in the end. Everything is all a deal between these rich families, these bloodlines. So you see, Irish, they have no problem. You still got the IRA battling. They can't stand Britain still because of the shit that they did to them. Africa don't trust Britain because of the shit they did to them. But see, the shit gets forecasted over into America because of what both sides of our ancestries were taught and both sides were dealt. Because remember, everybody wasn't a slave owner. And then you got to think to yourself, when you think about the guy with the whip and the guy they had whipping these black slaves and this and that and the third, think about it. Those were Irish people. Those were slaves too. They like to use word and like indentured slaves and this and that. No, them motherfuckers lived in the same place on the same plantation, and their asses wasn't going anywhere. They were treated a little bit better, but best believe this: if they lost their life, it wasn't nothing to that landowner and that slave owner because he could go buy another one for $5. As simple as that. So the white Irish acted a lot more accordingly because they knew at any fuck up they could be dealt with. Bottom line, quicker than the African slave. It took the African slave a lot more to be punished. Not to say that the punishment wasn't more severe, but remember this: the one who was giving out the punishment was also a slave too. He was just Irish. He wasn't paid. Um, Treated a little bit better, maybe better clothing, but same situation, same scenario. If you don't listen, I'll put a bullet in your fucking head too. That's real talk. That's real deal. Um, do some research, man. You see that slavery, it goes back, it goes back to fucking Babylon. But more importantly, there's certain parts of history they like to whitewash and just sweep under the rug. Because remember, when liberty and fucking justice and all this shit and however you say the fucking word, proclamations were passed, the Irish got like what you consider like Section 8. They were the first ones that got it back in the day. They got the jobs to be the butchers and the police and this and that because of the history that America had with the Irish. So what did they do? They gave them jobs. They made them feel like men. And then to modern, you go to modern age now, and you kind of almost see the same thing happening with the blacks, as far as escalating up the financial chart, you know. And then I do believe that's to try to defame all the wrongs that the leaders, these Masons, they like to use governments, and they like to use Ku Klux Klan and the Nation of Islam and all these right wing factors that they all go back to the Vatican. They're all, you know what I'm saying, in one way or the other, they give like tribute and kickback to the Vatican. They're all under the same banner. They're all Masons. Masons, like I said, come in all colors, and they speak many languages. Why do you think the rich speak at least 5 languages? That way they can communicate with their fellow Masons across the globe and keep the agenda moving. Even the women, even the Order of the Eastern Star, they've got a position for everybody, even the blind. So, not taking nothing from my brothers, and their struggles and the slavery years, and we're all even modern day slaves. We're just slaves to currency now, and we think we're free. But do your research, and you'll see how much they whitewash the Irish slave movement and trade, and how much it's pushed under the table. And they make the African agenda such an issue because it keeps you and me at each other's throat. Because remember, the rich, they stay rich. The whites and the blacks and the Arabic rich people, they're not mad at each other. They pass like legislation and bills and shit like this, and use words like democracy and liberty for me and you, But in the end, at the end of the day, they all speak the same language. They're all builders. They're all craftsmen. They're all illuminated. And they think they're on the right path, or path that is, but not with the Most High. So always stay focused on the wicked. I always tell you they work in threes, and I mean that shit in everything, in movies, in literature, in everything, entertainment, in religion, in it all. They always use threes, and that's like I say, that's one way you can always tell that that's a symbol of they're telling a story just in a different way. You just have to have the knowledge and have some background in some research to be able to pick up what the fuck some of this shit means, you know. And you know, a basic one is how they use, like, say, King Arthur and Guinevere and Lancelot, right? You think about Arthur with the A, right? He's the first king. A, Adam, right? And then you got Guinevere. Guinevere, I don't know, whatever. There's probably some hidden meaning in that, but I'm just gonna basically break down how the threes are. And you know, she's supposed to be the queen and loyal to the king and this and that and that and the third. And then Sir Lancelot comes along. Now think of this. Sir Lance a lot. Nigga had a lot of dick, obviously, right? Um, and so anyway, that's basically you pay attention to the Excalibur tale, and it's all about sex. It's all about betrayal, um, and it's all about the three, that holy trinity: the king, the queen, and the avenger, or the serpent, or whatever you want to title Sir Lancelot, you know. But there's always threes to everything, you know. Everything. There's always threes, and when you see threes, and when you pay attention to the threes, because there's a deeper meaning. And if you pay attention to whatever program you're watching or whatever book you're reading, you'll see and you'll witness a lot of sex, a lot of lies, misfortune, nothing good, nothing positive, no positive outcomes. And if it is positive, there's a lot of deceit, betrayal, and death behind that positive outcome. So obviously, uh, there isn't too much positive understanding, or better yet, what do you take away from a story that has nothing more to do with death and betrayal for triumph? I mean, think of any and all of your Disney movies. They're all about that shit. They're all about deceit and betrayal and glory through, and triumph through evil ways and evil deeds. It doesn't matter. It's wicked as fuck, and they do it to the adults. But to the adults, we think because we've turned 18 and we're of age, and we become 21 and now we can drink, or 25, or whatever the age is, we feel like it's okay because we're adults. I beg to differ. I say it's not okay. I say you open your eyes to the fucked up shit that you see, and you let it be known. You don't laugh and giggle at it and carry on with your life, because then you make it look normal to the children under you, and that's not cool. They're supposed to be guided, and when you let a TV guide you, you're not, you don't have the proper knowledge to guide the next generation if all you know is TV, radio, newspaper, and church. Yeah, if you have no independent thinking hours under your belt, What are you really teaching? What have you really taught? What are you bringing to the table? Except labels of books from past Masons, you know. And you think about anybody that ever told the truth. Anybody that ever told the truth, they made a martyr. They assassinated and made a martyr. Even it goes even in the Bible with Jesus. They killed him to turn him into a martyr, made a book about him, made him popular. Even if this man exists or this is just a a metaphoric story to keep you people in line. Uh, Same with them all. You know, all your martyrs, JFK, Martin Luther King, um, Louis Farrakhan, uh, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy Jr. God knows what he had to say, but they shut him up, right? There's so many, they want to call them whistleblowers or whatever, but conspiracists or whatever. When these people decide that in high places and have power and have the masses' ears, you better watch what you say because it can get you real quick. The people that you think you're friends, the people become your enemies. The people that you think your enemies act like your friends. Uh, and that's far back as Julius Caesar and Abel and Cain. You know, you're always deceived by the ones you believe in the most. So be careful and think about JFK, our very first Catholic president, and he was assassinated for speaking out against secret societies. And everybody knows those secret societies lead back to the Vatican. And he's murdered in broad daylight, just like Farrakhan, just like his brother, just like Martin Luther King, just like President Lincoln. Any of these people that spoke out against the church or spoke out against the system and started wanting to tell some truth to some real people and try to even out the playing field, they were all assassinated in public. Uh, Recently, Tupac Shakur, you know, the most recent assassination for making people think, Tupac Shakur. And there's not too many people thinking or speaking out anymore, not on a commercial level, because they're all indoctrinated and they're all Masons, low level, high priest, high grand wizards. They're all, you're not getting money if you ain't part of the program anymore. They're just not taking those chances. And Tupac, I believe, was a Mason. You know, I do believe he was a Mason because I look at that Machiavelli album, and then I think of, I just look at the album cover, and then the album cover is they got, you know, Tupac is on a white cross, and that white cross represents innocence, right? Also, his name Machiavelli is written in white on that album, which lets, if you know anything about Freemasonry and um, sacrifices, that's basically what that album cover is saying. You know, when they put Tupac as Jesus Christ on a cross, a white cross in his name. Now Tupac had seen the artwork, right? But who's to say those colors didn't change there at the end? He didn't have any say so. Who's to say that, you know, the order said this is how it's going to be. We're going to lay it down like this, you know, because they, like I said, they always leave tails and trails to everything they do. You just have to be wise enough and smart enough and have the background intelligence to understand certain things and what they mean. Certain things and colors pop out to you. Uh, So many, Bob Marley. I don't really, I don't. There's certain people, deaths. It's just like, it is what it is type of situations, but assassination type of situations, pay attention to, especially the ones that are caught on film. You know, Easy E. That's another one. Uh, I don't think that was a misfortune. I think that was somebody with power who fired a Jew, and I think that same Jew was involved in the Jew that was representing death row, um, as far as lawyer wise. And ain't it funny how two Jews running two record companies ended up with two mind altering individuals die very mysterious and calculated deaths? No. But one thing I do know is if you got power, you got knowledge, and you've got an audience, you will be dealt with. And that's on some real shit. Um, Guard your soul, one thug, one love. I gotta get to bed. I got work tomorrow. I love you all.